Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Sawa Izzati binti Sardi, Mamatik number 280491. 1.0 Introduction. The term fraud refers to deliberate misrepresentation of financial fact by one or more persons in administration, workers or third parties. Audit fraud occurs when a business is discovered to have fraudulently manipulated financial statement in order to misrepresent its financial condition or conceal profit or loss. Fraud is harshly penalized because it damages confidence, which is the foundation of the world economy. 1.1 Types of fraud. Misappropriation or embezzlement of cash. Misappropriation is defined as the dishonest conversion or appropriation of money, while embezzlement is defined as any dishonest use of another's money or property for one's own profit by any individual to whom it has been trusted. Secondly, misappropriation of goods. It falls under the heading of fraud since the individual or person involved plan to divert the company's asset to earn personal benefits. Fraud via misappropriation of items is easier to do when the products are expensive but not bulky. Thirdly is fraudulent manipulation of accounts. It defined as the illegal modification of a company's financial statement in order to manipulate the company's health or to conceal earning or loss. Next, teaming and lagging. Teaming and lagging is a process in which organization seeks to conceal a financial loss in one customer account by transfer funds from another customer account. It is also known as lapping, short banking, or delay accounting. And lastly, window dressing. Window dressing refers to the misrepresentation of finance in order to provide a more accurate image of the status of financial affairs than is actually the case. The goal of window dressing is to demonstrate greater profit and to provide higher compensation to managerial staff when remuneration is connected to profits. 1.2 Role of auditing. The auditor's role is to provide a competent and objective opinion on the financial statement. An audit of an association financial report can give more accountability to participants and confidence that all amounts earned by the organization have been properly accounted for. The auditor's role are to acquire strong evidence that the financial statements are clear of the serious misrepresentation due to fraud or error, and to provide an auditor's report which includes the literature review.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hasnia binti Sudarmin, matric number 2 at 0255. Hin Leong Trading is registered in Singapore as the oil trading company. Hin Leong was founded back in 1963 by Lim Pon Queen, also known as OK Lim. As a commodity trading corporation and homegrown oil trader in Singapore, the company became one of the largest independent oil traders around the world. Hin Leong Trading was held by its founder OK Lim, together with his children Evan Lim and Lim Hui Ging, and were also sharing ownership of Hin Leong Trading. The history was started with a one-man, one-truck business. OK Lim would buy fuel from oil majors, parcel it up into small volumes and resell it. Next, developed to involve a lot more to tank trucks, include an entire fleet of vessels that will actually work as an integrated supply system. After that, OK Lim built his fleet of tank trucks in Singapore over the years. Since Asia's oil market is extremely secretive, it is difficult to find supply and demand. In 2020, there were a huge confusion as major financial institutions start to pull financing and credit lines from Hin Leong. However, the scandal came as quiet as surprise, as there was really no sign that Hin Leong was performing underwhelming. When the pandemic hit the oil industry, not just in Singapore but also internationally, oil was trading at very low prices and became the first time in the industry that oil was trading at negative $40 per barrel. In April 2020, Hin Leong was charged with forgery. According to the charges, OK Lim instigated Hin Leong employees to forge a document that looked like it was issued by UT Singapore Service. All the forged documents were used to secure more than $77 million in trade financing from a financial institution. 2 weeks later, OK Lim was sued for $3.5 billion because of Lim's outstanding debt. When oil prices started to crash due to COVID-19, Hin Leong's lenders got worried and started demanding repayment for their loans. Later, Hin Leong revealed that they had sold a huge part of the company's oil inventory. Hin Leong were deemed to have not made any profit during the couple of years. OK Lim's son clarified that he did not know the reason behind all the losses and stated that he only knew that OK Lim asked them to omit it from the company's financial statement. The lockdown and other government measures to restrict the spread of coronavirus, together with the global demand, makes Hin Leong had filed for bankruptcy. That's all from me. Thank you.
Good day to Dr. Basara and all. My name is Lim Hui Yan and my metric number is 280770. Now I present the part of involvement or roles of auditors in the case of Hin Leong. The auditor firm that was involved in auditing HLT was Deloitte. Deloitte has been auditing the accounts of HLT for at least 16 years, prior to the collapse of the company due to a massive amount of financial mismanagement, which is the losses of up to 800 million USD dollars does not reflect in the HLT financial statements during the previous financial years. HLT received audit opinions and suggestions from Deloitte that were unaltered. Due to HLT not being a publicly traded firm, the auditor's reports for Hin Leong do not include any key audit matters. As a result, HLT received an unmodified opinion and was not obliged to produce audited accounts. So there should be high quality standards for non-public interest company to be audited by public accountants. In this case, the court has appointed PwC as an interim judicial manager of Hin Leong to run the affairs of a financially distressed company. PwC has reviewed the scope and depth of Hin Leong's wrongdoing, alleging that HLT's financial department fabricated documents on a massive scale to raise trade funding. PwC discovered that HLT participated in several bilateral or multi-party transactions in which it bought and sold the same cargo at a loss on the same day or within a short period of time. Due to this, HLT sued Deloitte for claimed auditing errors. However, auditors from Deloitte argued that they carried out the audit reports based on the information given by HLT. It is regrettable that when a company scandal was happened, the auditor will be evaluated unfairly in the court of public opinion. Perhaps that is a one-of-a-kind workplace standard. HLT auditor Deloitte has various options for reporting the fraud or at least suspending the fraud, yet nothing has been reported. If auditors have reason to suspect that HLT's management is involved in fraudulent activity, they are obligated to report their suspicions to the body responsible for governance. Auditors must also examine if they have an obligation to inform other parties about the act of suspicion. That's all from me, and thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Azmi Najib bin Azhar, number matrix 281440, and I'll be representing the role of auditor to prevent and detecting fraud. Firstly, generally, role of auditor is to exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism. Secondly, they have to identify and assess risk of material misstatement, and they need to obtain a sufficient appropriate audit evidence and implement appropriate response to the assessed risk. Lastly, they need to form an opinion based on the audit evidence obtained. Maintaining professional skepticism helps auditor to detect contradicting audit evidence. Auditor must consider the sufficiency and the appropriateness of audit evidence before accepting the records or documents. It is the auditor role to include information obtained from other sources, such as previous audit record, to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statement is free from material misstatement. Professional skepticism, however, also detect unreliable documents and response to be used as evidence. There are, however, circumstances that they may indicate audit procedure. The circumstances include suffer continuing losses, suspicious overdrawn of financing from banks, as well as frequent transaction between group companies. Professional skepticism reduces the risk of overlooking unusual circumstances and also overgeneralizing when drawing conclusion from the observation. Lastly, they also reduce the risk of inappropriate assumptions in determining the nature, timing, and the extent of the audit procedures and evaluating the result. The identification of the risk of material misstatement exists at two levels, which is the overall financial statement, and secondly, the assertion level for each classes of transaction, account balances, and disclosure. To identify the risk of material misstatement, the auditor must think of an adequate plan. This is to reduce the detection risk at an acceptable level, which is at the lowest level. As prescribed in ISA 240, an audit procedure will be done with assignment of personnel to the engagement team. The engagement team then have to maintain at all times the professional skepticism to identify the inherent risk as well as the control risk effectively. Lastly, the auditor required supervision and review of the work performed. This can be done by initiating discussion among engagement team. Another role described by ISA 200 is forming opinion from the audit collected. Auditor must evaluate whether analytical procedures when performing and calculation as to whether the financial statement are consistent with the auditor understanding of the entity. And the auditor also have to evaluate whether such misstatement is indicative of fraud and implication of misstatement, particularly the reliability of the management representation. This refers to the numerous convenient misstatement at a specific spot, even though the implication is not material, may be an indicative of a risk of material misstatement due to fraud, which involves the management. If the misstatement is caused by fraud involving the management, the auditor shall consider whether the circumstances indicate possible collusion involving employees, management, or third parties when reconsidering the reliability of the evidence. This is a crucial step because there is a significant doubt about the truthfulness of the accounting records and the financial statement at the assertion level as well as the financial statement as a whole. The auditor shall evaluate the implication for the audit to confirm the material misstatement as a result of a fraud. And that will be all from me, and I will pass the presentation to the next person. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone, I'm Jonathan, my MAC number is 279431, and today I'm gonna explain Hin Leong Trading's ethical issues. This was evident in the Hin Leong Trading's discovery when systematic fraud of the highest kind was used to have gone undetected for many years. Regulators definitely have numerous concerns about how respected CEO Lim Oi Kun was permitted to operate with such impunity in the enterprise, especially when the root was already so deep. Furthermore, there is no independent board or audit committee in corporation held by the Lim families to examine the decisions to utilize various auditors. Nonetheless, there is an auditor standard SSX 600 that deal with particular concern in the audit of consolidated statements of financial positions, including the work of competent auditors for the 4 firms in Hin Leong Company Group. This standard is set to help guarantee communications and collaboration among the various auditors. Also, the CEO Lim Oi Kun, who admitted in April 2020 to consolidate 800 million in losses at the Singapore-based oil trading business Crate, allegedly directed a Hin Leong auditor to fabricate the documents was used to collect more than 56 million in financial transactions from the bank. He also admitted to selling a significant portion of the company oil stock base and using the proceeds for general purpose, despite the fact that the inventories was the subject of inventories financial arrangement with banks. As a result, you may find out that both the CEO Lim Oi Kun and the employees was lack of integrity to carry out their responsibility. However, Hin Leong Trading did not execute the repurchase for one such arrangement in March and April 2020. The bank discovered that the amount of goods actually possessed by the firms was sustainably smaller than it had declared. According to research, the company financial statements for the fiscal years ended October 31st, 2019 inflates the worth of its inventory by at least $809 million. As a result, Hin Leong Trading fraudulous financial report with the goals of deceiving violates the Code of Ethics, which established the fundamental principle that auditors and accountants must follow.
6.0 Conclusion. This issue is very interesting to us due to the fact that we may adapt classroom theory to real-world problem. Therefore, incidents that occur at the Hin Leong firm teach us a lot about the role of auditors. The act of the auditors Deloitte reflect negatively on an auditor's honesty in carrying out their duties. Overall, the example of fraud and auditor misconduct that happened at Hin Leong Company demonstrate the need of being honest and meticulous in all matters in order to avoid future mistakes that would have a significant impact on ourselves. Thank you.